Okay, next up, please welcome, first time at Word Asylum, so a warm round of applause for Hilde, please.
Thank you. I want to apologise for reading from my phone. I don't have a printer, so this is what we get.
That's okay.
And yeah, I'm Hilde, and I'm originally from Norway, and I've done a lot of soul searching recently. I go through these periods of my life that I like to call involuntary soul searching. I don't know if anyone else knows about this, but this is stuff happens and you're forced to reevaluate your life. And I've been forced to do a lot of thinking recently, and I've done a lot of thinking about where I come from. And I wanted to share with you tonight a little something that I wrote, trying to see where I'm from in a different and slightly more positive light. So this is called Hardanger, which is the place outside of Bergen in Norway on the west coast where I'm from. It's quite beautiful. As it emerges from the tunnel, the darkness becomes spring. The winter seems to have lifted, absconded, the snow increasingly absent as we appear head on by the fjord. That we barging straight into it, but we twist and screech and proceed to slide alongside as it stretches out like an arm, reaching out to the far sea, between crowds of steep, choppy hillsides, adorned with nonsensically random bushes hanging on for dear life, like there's always that need for a splash of green. These aren't real mountains, you see. They're barely tall enough to even matter within this landscape. They're babies, with their trickling tear streams of pretty waterfalls, and their gradient colours that make tourists lose their shit, until the infinite multitude of nature disillusions them enough to crave the higher peaks, the real torrents, the overpriced cafe perched like a welcoming insanity at the edge of a cliff, and they wonder why there's even a fence. Health and safety ruins their experience, like where's the wilderness in that? But no one gets to condescend the fjord. It strides prima donna-like into the rigorous horizon, bestowed its millenary confidence, a crystal bright turquoise speckled diva who will not speak when spoken to, who holds court and acts solely on her own whims, who is stoic and quiet and firm as she lashes out inaudibly and softly but surely as she laps at the shores of drowsy little towns tucked away below the tree line, where churches gave way to gas stations and weaving mills and little village shops, repair shops, grocery shops, closed down shops, an infinite number of attempted shops that would or will eventually and inevitably die when the tourists tire of moose skin rugs and the ships tire of navigating the ridiculously shallow, narrow waterways. Now only the steeples remain, the brick and the cross, and the occasional smoke. Someone's determined to persist here, for now, by the fjord. To us, this fjord is a map, not a terminus, a temporary treat en route as the train advances unflappably on course, a blatant, no-holds-barred snake along the silky azure thread that guides and nourishes and reminds me, this, soon, in the not too distant far away, this thing that beckons, Those horizons scattered lights I can barely make out as these speaker system announcers are imminent arrival into a slightly larger, not yet dying town, distinguished by its landscape, anchored in water, made familiar by this still resting old friend, quietly striking upon even the sleepiest heart. This is also home.
Very good.
I wanted to share with you some poetry about, like, not necessarily where I'm from, but where I've been. And after leaving Norway, when I was quite young, I lived for a number of years in Germany, and I wanted to share with you some of my German poetry. It's quite short, it's just a number of lines, and which kind of transitions into another poem that I wrote in English. So it's a few German lines. And I'd say one of the wonderful things about living in Wales is that I get to hear the Welsh language, and I absolutely adore the Welsh language. It's so beautiful. I don't speak it, but I love the sound of it, and I don't know if there are any German speakers in the room, but I hope that you can appreciate the sound of this language that I really love, and I love the sound of this language that I don't really understand. I would love to learn to speak it, but it's just, it's that sound of a foreign language that can still be beautiful to you, even though you don't know the words. Es gab einmal, aber dennoch, wo steckt mein Herz? Ihm ist es nicht gelungen, nicht abzutauchen. Und die ganzen Leute, die um mich herumschwärmen, sind wie Gespenster. Unausweichlich abweisen. Nochmal. Man fragt sich, wo sei mein Herz? Diesen von Geisternwäldern voll ungerissenen Leerraum kann ich nur lautlos anflehen. Es war einmal, aber jetzt taucht es wieder. Immer als erstes die Sinnlichkeit. Wo bleibt mein Herz? There could have been other lives. Though these carpets swallow your steps until you live fully within. They are blood red, aptly tortured by spiky black heels. She will only wear these velvet courts, a bow-encrusted gift, so he knows when she is near. They are anything but soft on his strings. You will never know choice as though it were yours. You will transfuse their thoughts until they are yours. The fibres of your being are not your own, not really. They were never yours to mould. Yours is a predetermined skin. You speak with the echo of foreign dichotomies, and the blood of taken thoughts live in your core. There could have been other nights, sweeter nights, though these doors latch onto your frame until you are square, made stale. They are dull brown, suitably mauled by pale claw hands, and she will only knock when he had ceased wanting her to appear. She will run circles round his words and envelop them as loss becomes her, like raindrops that you want to savour, November when you're happy. She would steal his dreams. She is the absence of sleep, even in her absence. And you will never know if it were fate or the spectacle of a dame. Shoulder pads in the sunset, every black contour welded in silk, the sheen of angular perfection, gradual twilight seeping in through countless corners, the darkness engulfing the lapels of skirts, milky soft shins, your gaze making silhouettes of her skin, her breath inviting the outline of a kiss. Rivers of red made Lucius' mouth a certain shade of dahlia. There are ants in her eyes, crawling their way out across lowered lashes, claws down your chest, the immediacy of a pain barely noticed. Painting soft lens flares through a glass autumnal, the ghost of a fluttering reminder slithering into your heart, her binocular eyes that would drone a man's convictions willingly. whilst her body moves without the anticipation of the touch. The stoic shine of her lower lip as she questions her motives, devoid of wonder. Of course it had to be her, but then again, who else? Wrap up your origami dreams, my friend, and rewind the tape. Here's one for the afterlife. Thank you so much.